Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salamun alaikum, dear listener. Welcome back to another deep dive. We're here to explore some really pivotal moments in history, trying to, distill these complex stories into their essential insights. And this deep dive, well, like the whole series, it's brought to you by the creators of babulilm.app. We're diving into an AI-narrated series, and it's all based on a truly renowned historical book, A Probe into the History of Ashura. This was authored by the esteemed Dr. Ibrahim Ayati, an Iranian Shia historian, researcher, and preacher, a remarkable scholar active between 1916 and 1964.
Assalamu alaikum. And our objective, our real focus for this deep dive, is to carefully, meticulously trace the sacred journey of Imam Husayn, peace be upon him, specifically his departure from the holy city of Makkah. We really want to illuminate his unwavering resolve. This wasn't about earthly ambition, not at all. It was forged in divine purpose. And we want to explore the profound efforts he made along the way to clarify the true essence of his mission to, well, everyone he encountered. This journey, as Dr. Ayati's historical probe reveals, it's marked by these crucial encounters and, frankly, timeless insights.
Absolutely. And to really feel the weight, the sheer gravity of Imam Husayn's actions, peace be upon him, we need to quickly set the scene. Remember the political landscape back then?
What?
It was tumultuous, to say the least. The rule under Yazid, it wasn't just flawed, it was deeply corrupt, tyrannical. There was this flagrant disregard for core Islamic principles. Dr. Ayati, in his analysis, he paints a very clear picture. This period saw this insidious effort, not just to dilute, but to actively try and erase the Prophet's pure message.
That's exactly right. What was really at stake, you see, was the survival of true Islam itself. The corruption wasn't just political, it was a moral decay. It seeped into everything, governance, society. Things like public consumption of alcohol, the ruling elite promoting decadent lifestyles, appointing unqualified, often tyrannical governors. These were all clear signs. And as Dr. Ayati meticulously details, this wasn't just poor governance. No, it was an active distortion, a twisting of the spiritual and legal heart of the Muslim Ummah. That's why understanding these events, as the author really stresses, it isn't just academic. It's absolutely crucial for the survival of true Islam. Remember the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, he famously declared, "Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein." It's such a profound statement. It underlines this inseparable link between the Prophet's mission and Imam Hussein's stand. It signifies that Hussein, peace be upon him, was destined to be the means by which the Prophet's religion would endure. This divine connection, this prophetic insight, it sets the absolute stage for everything that follows.
Okay, so let's really unpack this pivotal moment then, Imam Husayn's departure from Makkah. What was the exact timing? And more importantly, why? Why make such a profound decision, especially on the day when, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims were getting ready for Hajj? It seems, well, on the surface, almost backwards, doesn't it? Against the grain.
You've absolutely hit on a crucial point there, because it is a moment steeped in both strategic foresight and this deep spiritual resolve. Imam Husayn, may Allah's peace be upon him, he made that momentous decision to leave Makkah on the 8th of Zil-Haj, year 60 AH. Now, this specific day, it's known as Yawm al-Tarwiyah. It's a time when pilgrims are in this heightened state of spiritual preparation. They're hydrating, gathering provisions, getting ready to leave for Mina, which marks the official start of the Hajj pilgrimage. The Imam, he'd actually arrived in Makkah back on the 3rd of Shaban, so he'd been there for several months, observing, assessing the situation, waiting, really, until this critical moment. Dr. Ayati goes into the detail on this in chapter 12 of his book.
The timing is just, wow. To choose to leave Makkah, the spiritual heart of Islam, exactly as Hajj is about to begin. It must have sent shockwaves, right?
Yeah.
Not just locally, but across the entire Muslim world. So what was his primary reason? What was so compelling that he'd make such an extraordinary departure, especially being inside the sacred area of the Kaaba, a sanctuary?
Well, his main reason, dear listener, was completely selfless and profoundly strategic. It reflected a higher purpose. The Imam's intelligence, his sources, had confirmed a plot, a very real, very present danger of his assassination within the sanctuary's sacred precincts. The Umayyad regime under Yazid's command, they'd shown already they had no issue violating even the holiest sites to eliminate opponents. Imam Husayn understood with absolute clarity that if he were martyred inside the Kaaba, it would desecrate the house of Allah itself. It would turn this sacred sacrifice into just, well, a political murder. Seen as sacrilege, it would undermine the very faith he was trying to protect, you see, stripped of its higher purpose.
So this wasn't an escape then? Not for personal safety. It sounds like a calculated, deliberate move, very courageous, aimed at preserving the sanctity of the Kaaba. That really elevates, doesn't it? From self-preservation to safeguarding the faith itself. A theological statement almost.
Precisely. Dr. Ayati really emphasizes this throughout chapter 12. It was emphatically not an escape in the usual sense. Not cowardice, quite the opposite. It was a strategic decision of immense spiritual weight. By leaving, he ensured his martyrdom would, quote, always benefit from Islam and, crucially, achieve his object. He wasn't avoiding death. He was meticulously choosing the how and the where of his sacrifice. Leaving Makkah meant his pure blood wouldn't be shed in a way that could be easily twisted by the oppressors used in their narrative. Instead, it would be on a battlefield. A clear, unmistakable stand against tyranny, transforming his sacrifice into this undeniable beacon, a catalyst. It was about choosing a martyrdom that would serve as an eternal lesson,
Right.
not just a forgotten incident.
And what did he do practically, symbolically, before leaving? He must have had to make some kind of statement, given the Hajj context.
Oh, absolutely. Even in this urgent, dangerous departure, he showed profound respect for the Kaaba and its rituals. Before setting out, he meticulously performed tawaf, walking around the Kaaba. Then he performed sa'i, the ritual walk between Safa and Marwa, 7 times. After these acts, he abandoned his the pilgrim's garb, having performed an umrah. This whole sequence, described in Chapter 12, it wasn't random. It was a clear demonstration of his adherence to the sacred rites, a powerful message in itself, showing that even while taking these extraordinary steps to protect the Kaaba from being defiled by his potential assassination, he never disrespected its spiritual essence. His mission was deeply rooted in the faith he sought to preserve.
What's so fascinating and really makes you think is the sheer defiance and foresight in all this. You'd think, facing such a threat, maybe hide, stay in the sanctuary, blend in. But he did the exact opposite. He left to protect the sanctity of the house of Allah, even at immense personal risk. So what does this tell us beyond the tactics about his strategic thinking? His ultimate mission is just remarkable.
It tells us volumes, dear listener, volumes about his strategic brilliance and the sheer scope of his mission. Leaving on the 8th of Zil-Haj wasn't impulsive. Dr. Ayati strongly suggests it was part of a larger divinely ordained plan. He saw with total clarity that the corruption back then couldn't be fixed by normal means. Diplomacy, preaching, politics, none of it was enough anymore. It demanded, as Chapter 12 highlights, an unprecedented self-sacrifice. By leaving Makkah like this, he made sure his sacrifice would be public, undeniable, an act of defiance against tyranny, against the disregard for Islamic principles by those in power. It was a powerful symbolic message to the whole ummah. The sanctity of Islam was being violated, not by him, but by the rulers claiming its mantle. His strategy ensured his martyrdom wouldn't just be a historical event, it would become a living testament, a constant reminder, a catalyst for change, not just a forgotten tragedy. It really laid the groundwork for understanding that true life, true honor, lies in upholding truth, even facing the ultimate sacrifice. This deep understanding of martyrdom as this eternal legacy, this incredible honor, it sets the stage for everything to come.
Okay, so that brings us to another critical point. What did the Imam actually say to his closest companions, his followers, just before setting off on this journey of no return? I understand his sermon was incredibly powerful.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just a speech. It was a declaration, really. Capturing the essence of his divine mission, revealing his destiny. Dr. Ayati highlights this so well in Chapter 12.
Can you share some of the key quotes, the really striking lines from that sermon, and help us understand their deeper meaning?
I can. The Imam, peace be upon him, he started with this profound statement. It spoke about the universal nature of death, but hinted at the unique sacrifice needed for Islam's survival then. He said, and this is from Chapter 12, page 54, "Death has marked the human beings in the same manner in which a necklace leaves its mark on the neck of a young woman." It's beautiful, isn't it? Poetic. It conveyed that while death is real for everyone, for him it wasn't just an end. It was a destined path, a necessary, almost beautiful sacrifice. Meant to remedy the deep corruption threatening to just dismantle Muslim society, it was a clear sign, a solemn warning. The deviation from true Islam couldn't be fixed without this great, unprecedented sacrifice, the necklace metaphor. It suggests not just inevitability, but readiness. Even a kind of grace in embracing this destiny.
That's incredibly powerful, poignant. It suggests this deep acceptance, almost a yearning, not fear. What else did he reveal? About his destiny, his connection to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, his blessed family.
He then spoke of his longing to reunite with his beloved family and foretold his destiny with such clarity, revealing the divine plan behind his stand. He declared, "I am keen to see the Prophet of Allah, Ali, Hamza Jafar, and my mother Fatima in the same way in which Yaqub was keen to see Yusuf." And then, "A site of martyrdom has been selected for me by Allah, and I am going there." This is also in Chapter 12. This really shows it wasn't just a personal choice or a political move. It was preordained, a continuation of the prophetic mission. Allah Almighty had destined that this level of corruption could only be cleansed, revived, by Imam Husayn's unprecedented self-sacrifice. It shows his rising wasn't desperation, but a divinely guided mission. A spiritual surgery, if you will, to correct the societal deviation. And that longing for his family, especially the Prophet, it underscores the pure spiritual drive behind everything he did.
Wow. And then with that insight, he made the ultimate call, didn't he? The call for commitment. A clear choice for his companions, showing his certainty, inviting only the truly dedicated. What were those words?
Indeed. He left zero room for doubt. Offered a choice that defined loyalty, he stated, with utter clarity. Only he who is prepared to sacrifice his life for my sake and to meet Allah should accompany me. God willing, I intend to depart tomorrow morning. Again, chapter 12, page 54. This, dear listener, this was the ultimate call. Uncompromising commitment. He gave him a stark choice, showed his own certainty. It ensured only those with true conviction, those genuinely ready to sacrifice everything, life, comfort, possessions for all and his religion, would stay. This wasn't a recruitment drive for worldly gain or power. It was a savory invitation to martyrdom for the highest purpose, saving Islam itself.
So the overarching purpose of this sermon, it sounds like he was saying conventional solutions just weren't going to cut it anymore. The problems were too big, too deep.
Precisely. You've got the core message. The Imam made it clear. The massive problems facing Islam then couldn't be solved conventionally. Financial aid, scholarly writings, eloquent speeches, none of it, he declared, was enough to uproot the corruption. He stated quite chillingly that only self-sacrifice and martyrdom could truly cleanse Islam's foundation, restore its purity. That's from chapter 12. He knew the spiritual, moral essence of Islam was at stake. Only the ultimate sacrifice, blood and life, could ensure its survival and distinguish it from the distorted version the Umayyads were pushing. It was a call for spiritual revolution through sacrifice.
That's a profound realization. Shows how dire things were. The moral fabric had decayed so much, only sacred blood could awaken it. It was the start of his revolution, as Dr. Ayati says. Not violence for its own sake, but deep reform.
And that leads us perfectly to something brief but crucial. The testament he left for his brother, Muhammad bin Hanafiya. He gave this even before leaving Medina. It powerfully underscores the pure, reformative, non-worldly nature of his mission. He clarified his intent, words recorded in chapter 12. I have not come out with the intention of violence and rebellion or in obedience to my passions, and it is not my object to create mischief on the earth or to oppress anyone. Then he says, my only object is to reform the affairs of the Muslim nation and to act according to the conduct of my father and grandfather. This declaration written down, it perfectly captures his pure intentions, the divine prophetic nature of his movement, aimed solely at restoring justice, righteousness, true Islamic principles, not seizing power. It's a guiding star for understanding his motives.
Okay, now the journey takes this truly heartbreaking turn. The Imam's resolve is tested even further. As he traveled, Imam Husayn, peace be upon him, got devastating news from Kufa. What exactly did he learn, and how did he react to such a crushing blow, still on the road, far from his destination?
It was a moment of immense sorrow, yes. A personal loss, and a huge test of his resolve, both spiritual and strategic. The Imam received the tragic news, the martyrdom of his cousin, his trusted representative, Muslim bin Aqil, and also his loyal host in Kufa, Hani bin Urwa Muradi. This news reached him at a halting place called Zurud, a desolate spot, maybe reflecting the news itself. Chapter 13 details this. This wasn't just personal loss. It confirmed the Kufans' betrayal, their broken promises. It confirmed the treacherous environment waiting for him.
How did he react? Hearing about the martyrdom of his closest allies, the ones sent ahead, it must have been an incredible emotional blow. What was his immediate response?
His reaction was one of solemn acceptance, deeply rooted in faith, submission to the divine will. He uttered those timeless words, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Indeed, we are from Allah, and to him we shall surely return. Complete submission. And he offered a heartfelt prayer. May Allah's blessings be upon both of them. That's in chapter 13. This composure, this tranquility facing such grief and adversity, it testifies to his unwavering faith. His understanding that these sacrifices, however painful, were part of a greater divine plan to revive Islam. He felt the pain, but his spirit unyielding.
What's truly amazing is that even with this news that would stop most leaders in their tracks, the Imam didn't falter. Instead, he did something remarkable then, didn't he? To test the loyalty, purify the ranks of those still with him. Tell us about that moment, that ultimate test.
Yes, this is a pivotal, ethically profound moment. At the next stop, Zabala, where, by the way, he also received the tragic news of Qays bin Mashar's martyrdom, Imam Husayn gathered his companions. He addressed them directly. Complete honesty, transparency, he said. Our supporters have withdrawn their support from us. They have abandoned their pledges. This is from chapter 13. This wasn't a complaint. It was a factual, stark assessment of the situation in Kufa, signaling the treacherous reality ahead.
So completely transparent about the danger, the broken promises. And then he made that unprecedented gesture,
War.
releasing them from their allegiance, giving them a choice. Why was that so crucial?
It was a profound act of moral integrity, ethical leadership, and a vital test of loyalty, as chapter 13 explains. The Imam explicitly stated, with absolutely no coercion, whoever wishes to leave us and go his way should do so. He released them, made it crystal clear. No one stays under duress or false pretenses or deception. This ensured only those with true, unshakable conviction, those who really understood the spiritual magnitude of his mission and were willing to sacrifice their lives for it purely for Allah, would remain. He wanted no one then or later to claim they were forced or misled. This clarity also distinguished the truthful from the wavering. Those who stayed out of deep faith, spiritual insight, devotion. Not worldly ambition or obligation, it was a self-purification of his group.
And the response from his loyal companions, the Bani Hashim, it was just breathtaking, wasn't it? It speaks volumes about their understanding, their selfless love for him. How did they respond?
Their response, dear listener, was truly awe-inspiring. A testament to their unwavering faith, their foresight, their deep grasp of the Imam's sacred mission. The companions and the noble Bani Hashim declared with one voice, words that echo through history. Praised be Allah who has honored us with martyrdom in your company. And then, even if it be supposed that this world had been eternal and we had to live in it forever, we would certainly have preferred to be killed along with you to living in this world. That's from chapter 13. This wasn't just talk. It was a profound declaration of boundless love, absolute loyalty, and a spiritual insight recognizing the eternal value of their sacrifice. They understood with the clarity beyond worldly calculation that martyrdom alongside the Imam was the highest honor, a spiritual triumph far beyond any worldly life or comfort. Their steadfastness facing that devastating news, it highlighted the stark contrast between their piety and the treachery of Kufa. It solidified that small, dedicated core that would face Karbala.
Now, connecting this to the bigger picture, the encounter with Hurr bin Yazid Riyahi, this really illustrates the Imam's unwavering character, doesn't it? His humanity, even towards adversaries. Tell us about that meeting.
It is deeply significant, yes. It reveals the Imam's boundless compassion, even in the most dire circumstances. This happened on the 1st of Muharram, year 61 AH. Imam Husayn and his small band encountered Hurr bin Yazid Riyahi and his army, 1,000 horsemen. In the scorching desert heat, this is covered in chapter 14, this was the first real military confrontation, although it started as a standoff.
And what happened next? It's just an incredible act of compassion, isn't it?
Yeah, unparalleled. An act of compassion and ethical conduct that still inspires us today. Hurr's army, their horses, they were suffering terribly from thirst under that merciless sun. Now, despite the fact that these were his adversaries, sent specifically to intercept him, possibly harm him and his family, Imam Husayn, peace be upon him, ordered his companions to give water to every single person and every single horse in Hurr's army. This act, recounted in chapter 14, shows his unparalleled compassion, transcending the conflict, the roles. It's a powerful living example of the highest Islamic values, showing that even facing confrontation, impending battle, humanity, mercy, generosity, they come first. This wasn't tactical. It was his inherent nature.
It's truly astonishing. Almost hard to imagine giving water to your enemies like that, especially in such a critical situation. What's the deeper spiritual meaning here? How does it link to his core teachings, his mission?
It connects fundamentally, dear listener, to his core teachings, the universal values he lived by. Remember his testament to Muhammad bin Hanafiya? His mission wasn't vengeance, power, or personal gain. It was rooted in profound humanity, justice, mercy, giving water to Hurr's thirsty army, knowing their hostile intent. It was a tangible demonstration of these supreme values. It showed clearly his struggle wasn't against individuals, but against injustice, moral decay, the perversion of Islam. It illustrated that even in the gravest conflict, the divine conduct, the ethics of the Ahlul Bayt remained paramount, uncompromised. It was also then, under the Imam's orders, that Hajjaj bin Masruq Wafi called the azan for noon prayers. Chapter 14 mentions this. This highlights the unwavering adherence to Islamic rites, regardless of the circumstances facing an opposing army. That simple act of calling to prayer, openly, steadfastly, showed his focus remained on upholding Islam's pillars, inviting all to its path.
So what does this mean for us today? That act, providing water to enemies, it's just incredible character. What lessons can we take from it?
For us, it's a timeless lesson. Enlightened leadership, unwavering ethics, the transformative power of truth and compassion. It teaches that true leadership isn't about crushing opponents or giving in to hatred. It's about embodying such profound moral character that even those against you can be touched, moved, transformed by your humanity. This act also subtly foreshadows Hurr's later transformation. Hurr, deeply impacted by the Imam's conduct, his spirit, eventually saw the truth in Imam Husayn's stand. He later broke away from Yazid's army, courageously joined Imam Husayn, and was martyred alongside him in Karbala. And the Imam, in that moment of recognition, told him, "You are a free person as your mother named you, Hurr, free. You are free in this world as well as in the hereafter." Chapter 14 again, it shows the power of truth, of genuine ethical leadership. Even in the darkest times, amidst deep divisions, the light of faith and morality can penetrate hearts, guide people towards salvation, towards freedom.
Okay, so after this astonishing act of compassion, the Imam then took the opportunity to clarify his stance, his purpose, to Hurr's army. What did he say? How did he justify being there? He didn't leave them guessing, did he?
No, absolutely no room for misinterpretation. After the prayers, Imam Husayn, peace be upon him, addressed Hurr's army directly, powerfully. He reiterated the reason for his journey, stated clearly he didn't come to Iraq without reason. He wasn't an aggressor. Instead, he reminded them, "Your representatives came to me and you wrote in your letters that you had no imam and asked me to come to you so that Allah might guide you through me." Chapter 14 has this. He then actually presented the letters, the invitations they themselves had sent, undeniable proof, placing the responsibility right back on them.
Holding them accountable to their own words. Powerful. And what offer did he make then, facing an army sent to stop him? Did he try to force things or give them a choice?
He presented a clear, just, ethical offer, showing his continued desire for peace and guidance even then. He explained if they renewed their promises, affirmed their invitations, he'd proceed to Kufa as invited. But he also made it clear if they broke their promises or if they were now worried by his arrival, he was fully prepared to return. Go back to the Zil-Haj. This is in chapter 14. Dr. Ayati notes that Hurr and his men, they gave no immediate reply. Their silence showed their dilemma, their discomfort being confronted with the truth of their own invitations, their betrayal, highlighted their inner conflict.
A real moment of moral clarity, putting the ball back in their court. But the Imam didn't just stop at their broken promises. He then delivered this scathing critique of Umayyad rule, right? What were his powerful words challenging their legitimacy?
Right. Yes. His sermon then pivoted. A direct, unambiguous, searing challenge to the legitimacy of the Umayyad Caliphate. He spoke those famous words, articulating the rightful authority versus the corruption. "We, the members of the family of the Holy Prophet, are the fittest persons to govern you and to exercise authority over you in material and religious matters as compared with the persons who are at the helm of affairs these days." He called them unreasonable persons, claiming an office they do not deserve, said they oppress you, and, crucially, such persons cannot be recognized to be the successors of the Holy Prophet, imams of the Muslims, defenders of the sacred religion of Islam, and the protectors of the Holy Quran. This is chapter 14, page 63. This, dear listener, was a direct indictment of Yazid's rule. Not just a claim to power, but an assertion of the divine right, the moral and spiritual superiority of the Ahlul Bayt to lead the Muslim nation, based on divine sanction, not worldly ambition.
He wasn't just claiming leadership. He was outlining the fundamental flaws of the Umayyad system. He went on, didn't he? Saying their agents followed Satan, disobeyed Allah, suspended punishments. Can you elaborate on that critique? The depth of the corruption he aimed to fix.
He did. He illuminated the profound systemic corruption. Imam Husayn, peace be upon him, detailed the moral, religious, administrative decay. He said their agents follow Satan, meaning their actions weren't guided by divine law or morality, but by evil impulses, worldly desires. They disobeyed Allah, openly flouting commands, and crucially, suspended the divine punishments. This meant they deliberately ignored or overturned God's law as the foundation of justice in Islam, allowing injustice, lawlessness, immorality to run rampant. Furthermore, he said they appropriated the property of the Muslims to themselves, specifically the public treasury, the Baitul Mal, meant for the community's welfare. Instead, it was shamelessly used for their selfish desires, personal enrichment, parties, a stark contrast to the just management of his father, Imam Ali, peace be upon him, as Dr. Ayati mentions, a direct accusation of massive corruption.
So not just breaking divine laws and financial corruption, but fundamentally twisting right and wrong itself. What else did he accuse them of?
He continued the indictment, saying they treated lawful things as unlawful and vice versa. Also, chapter 14, this means a complete distortion of Islamic law. right, wrong, permissible, and forbidden, inverted to suit their whims, their politics. The Umayyad regime, especially under Yazid, openly indulged in forbidden acts, public wine drinking, frivolous pursuits like playing with dogs, excessive hunting, and they promoted this behavior. This disregard for Islam was leading to, as Dr. Ayati puts it, the effacing and destroying Islam, and especially the name of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Imam Husayn's critique highlighted with absolute clarity this wasn't just politics, it was an existential battle for Islam's soul, emphasizing that such corrupt people could never be seen as true successors of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, or protectors of the Quran. This clear list of their crimes left no doubt about the massive deviation he was fighting.
Okay, so despite the clarity of his message, his compassion, his offers of peace, the confrontation with Hurr escalated. When Hurr warned the Imam about the consequences, the threat of death, the Imam's reply was poetic, defiant, a key moment.
Absolutely. It's where the path to martyrdom becomes undeniable, embraced with this serene determination. Hurr, under pressure, gave a direct warning. Continue towards Kufa and you will be killed. No uncertain terms.
And the Imam's response to that stark threat, how did he articulate his resolve, his understanding, facing certain death?
His reply, dear listener, wasn't just defiance. It was a profound spiritual declaration that transcends the fear of physical death. He responded with words of wisdom, poetic beauty, emphasizing that death in the path of truth, for justice, for God. It's not shame, it's honor. It's the way to eternal, true life. He drew from that core philosophy. For godly people dedicated to Allah, there's no concept of defeat in their dictionary, no true end. He said that being martyred in the path of Allah and for the sake of enjoining to do good and restraining from evil is not to die and perish, as the worldly see it. It's to live eternally with their Lord. This insight is all through chapter 13, page 59, and echoed in chapter 14, page 64. He distinguished physical death from spiritual perishing, which for him would mean abandoning truth, compromising justice. He said, and these words are history. If we succeed, we shall thank Allah, but even if destiny does not favor us, we shall not perish because our intention is good. Then, it is possible that we may be killed, but we shall not die, because there's a great difference between being martyred in the path of Allah and dying and perishing on the other. He truly captured living for a higher purpose.
What's fascinating is how his words go beyond just defiance or rejecting fear. They encapsulate this fundamental Islamic principle. True life, lasting honor, isn't in worldly survival at any cost. It's in upholding truth, standing for justice, even facing the ultimate sacrifice. This deep understanding of martyrdom, not an end, but a living legacy, an eternal honor, it really sets the stage, a spiritual lesson for all time.
Absolutely. This is critical to grasp the spiritual essence, the implications of Karbala. The Imam's words, his whole movement, show that for those devoted to Allah, the worldly outcome, victory, or defeat in conventional terms doesn't define true success. Real, eternal success is fulfilling one's divine beauty, upholding justice, sacrificing purely for truth and righteousness. It aligns perfectly with the Quran, Surah Al-Imran, verse 169. Think not of those who are slain in the way of Allah as dead. They are alive with their Lord and receive sustenance from him. His reply conveyed, with certainty, his death wouldn't be an end. It would be a powerful beginning, a perpetual source of light, inspiration, guidance for generations. It secured his movement's immortality, exposed the moral bankruptcy of his enemies regardless of their temporary power. It was a declaration that his sacrifice would be a perpetual standard, eternally distinguishing truth from falsehood, guiding humanity.
And as listeners reflecting on this, what does this profound courage mean for you in your own life? To stand for truth, face adversity, even threats, with such conviction, such serene acceptance. It's a question that invites deep reflection on our values, our principles, and how far we're truly willing to go. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we're left with this powerful image of Imam Husayn, peace be upon him, a leader of unwavering determination, clear mission, profound compassion. Every step of this journey leaving Makkah, the encounters underscores his commitment to fixing the corruption threatening Islam. His actions, sermons, compassion, even to enemies, an eternal beacon for humanity, illuminating justice and righteousness.
Indeed. This deep dive has really shown how Imam Husayn meticulously clarified his purpose, proving his rising wasn't for worldly power or gain, but purely for reform, for preserving divine truth. He gave every opportunity for people to choose their path, freeing them from obligation, despite knowing his own destiny. His journey was a living testament. His sacrifice was divinely planned, a sacred necessity for the survival of the Prophet's teachings, the pure message of Islam. It solidified the foundation of faith, sincerity, devotion for all future generations, a perpetual reminder of ultimate truth. Now, in our next deep dive, podcast 6, we continue this profound journey. It's titled The Land of Anguish, Arrival in Karbala. In that one, we'll follow the Imam and his loyal companions as they finally reach Karbala, the destined land of their ultimate sacrifice. We'll witness the immediate, heartbreaking events that begin to unfold there, sealing their eternal legacy. It's a chapter etched in history, defining courage, sacrifice, steadfastness against unimaginable tyranny.
Khuda Hafiz. May Allah enhance His blessings of guidance upon us and grant us abundant success in acquiring knowledge. Ameen.